What's up, crazy people? It's Nikteller, and in this guitar lesson we're actually going to change the strings on acoustic guitar. So as you can see, it's one of my new acoustic guitars. It's a Epiphone AJ 220 SCE. It's basically a jumbo, so it's a little bit bigger than a dreadnought. Cutaway, tuner, so it is electric, all that jazz. Very good stuff. Now, when you change the strings on acoustic, what I suggest is go out and buy yourself one of these. It's basically a string winder. You could do it by hand, but these things are actually cool because, as you can see, there's an edge notched right here, and this actually helps you take out the tuning keys, which are very helpful because you don't really want to mess up these tuning keys. You can take, just a pair of pliers and pull them out, but you're going to destroy them after a while. They're going to just, this is a new guitar, I want to take care of it. So the first thing you should know is that a lot of people, what they do is they just take off all the strings off their guitar, which is bad. It won't necessarily ruin your guitar instantly, but what it does is that you're changing the tension of the neck, because this thing is constantly being pulled by the strings slightly, so it just has that, tension of the strings. When you take them all off, what you're doing is releasing it, and over time of doing that multiple times, it's just not good. It can warp, but then again, you have a truss rod inside your neck, so you can always kind of fix that, but it's just a hassle. So I do suggest, tuning to standard, or right now it's in drop D, changing string after string one at a time. So you can, pretty much buy a pack of strings for about $5 for both electric or acoustic. These are Fenders. I'm going to tell you right now, these days I don't really care what I play. I know there's really nice, Elixirs, Diodarios, Ernie Ball Slinkies, and whatever you like, just go out and experiment, and you'll find which ones you actually like. But I've been out of bands for about a couple years. I'd say about 2 or 3 years, and I used to go to Walmart back in the day when they used to just sell guitar strings for $3 and just, whatever, just they have that pop. They do die. When I say die, I mean they don't rust. They just basically become unbright. So you'll start getting more thumpier guitar, and you'll notice it too. The bass and mids will come out, but you just won't have that, that bright, clean, twinkle, basically. So we got Fender right now, and as we can see right now, a lot of the packages will actually either individually package the strings, or they'll give a chart like this one where they're color coded. So we're going to take off the E. Right now it says blue, so we're going to take the blue one, and what we're going to do is unloosen. Now, traditionally, for standard, I forgot what they call them, but basically 3 on each side, to go up on the bass notes, you go away from, the guitar. To loosen, it goes towards. As for these 3, to, tighten up, it's actually towards the guitar, and then to loosen is away from the guitar. So that way, it's kind of a fluid motion. You can do it however you like, but there, typically is a standard. So, ooh, sounds amazing. I'm going to loosen it enough to actually go around the tuning peg one time. Because once you get it over once, you can actually unwind it. And there you go. So this is off. We're going to use our little string winder to pop out the peg. These are the tuning pegs. If you break one or lose one, I've seen people use golf tees. I guess that works just the same. I've seen people chip them accidentally. Alright. Another thing is wire clippers. You're going to need this so that way, you know, your string's not actually hanging off the side. So, if you do break your tuning pegs, they're like $1 at a guitar store. You know, and that's if you people aren't using the string winder or the actual professional way of taking out the pegs. They're going to get dented because you're just going to be, you know, crunching a wrench. So what you want to do is put the end of the string into the hole. As you can see, there's going to be a notch. That's basically where the string is going to come out. Try to push that tuning peg all the way down. Now here's the rule that I've learned, and you can do it however you like. A lot of people hold it to the very end and just tie it all the way around. You're going to have a lot of string. I mean, it's going to take forever. But a typical rule of thumb, and this was taught to me by my guitar teacher way back 15 years ago. On a normal electric guitar, as you can see, the tuning pegs are right next to each other. And he used to teach me go from one to, you know, skip one right there. So you're going to have at least about, I don't know, 3 inches of actually leeway. And that's basically where, in this one, let's imagine, I'm going to actually do it from halfway right there. A little bit more than halfway. As you can see, about 3 inches. And I'm going to make a little bend. And what that bend does is actually keeps the string. I'm having a hard time right here. Alright, you go up. Keeps the string in there. So basically you bend it. Now here's the tricky part that you guys are going to have to learn. What you usually want to do is I push a finger against the headstock and then pull away with my other fingers. Once again, you want this bent up, all that jazz. And you're wanting to, and since I'm tuning up, and this is going to guide the string. And what my guitar teacher showed me is that you're wanting to basically catch underneath, and then once it goes once around, bend that string up so that way it doesn't keep, you know, hitting the other tuning keys in your fingers. It's kind of out of the way. So, right there, I'm doing this by hand to show you, and then, but what you're wanting to do, as you can see, keep one finger on the headstock guiding the string low, and then pulling away. And what this is going to do is actually prevent slack, which you're going to have slack in tuning keys anyway, just because it's just natural. But this basically reduces a lot of it. So when you get new strings, as you can see, something popped, but that's normal because what it is that that string ball was probably an inch or two underneath that peg, and now it just caught up. So don't be afraid. And after you do this a couple times, you're gonna, you know, figure this out. And you're gonna have slack in all your strings anyway. I mean, it's just natural. Basically, new strings are being pulled. There's just, you know, just smaller than millimeters in the tuning keys. And I know you can't see this right now, but when I'm guiding the string with this pointing finger, ooh, you see that? That's pulling slack too. And I'm holding the string with the rest of my hand above the guitar and kind of keeping it tight, because that's what you want. So, doing it by hand. It's fun stuff. This video is probably going to be one of the more boring ones that I do. Now, another thing you want to do is you do not want to tie this really tight. You're going to want to keep this loose. Now, my guitar has a tuner on it, so what I'm going to do right now is actually tune it to E, which, you know, I'm blessed with that. But if you don't have a tuner, you can tune the other strings, because typically these things might go a little off, you know, by small cents. You know, after a while you get a feel. You definitely don't want to be looking at the guitar when you tune it, because there was one time I had a Strat, I was tuning it, looking over, tuning the E, wasn't thinking, and it popped and snapped. hit me in the face. I know this sounds dramatic, but I could have lost an eye because basically I had this thin wire cut all the way down my face. It was pretty embarrassing. So I'm going to tune this to E, B, C, D, D sharp. And if it feels, uncomfortable, or if it's super tight, check and make sure you're on the right gauge, because the thicker gauges are gonna, they're gonna be extra tight trying to get those high notes. And just make sure that you're coordinating your strings right, because if it feels wrong, don't tighten it anymore. You're probably gonna break something. So that's E. All right. You take your wire snippers, boom. Be careful also, because if you're not watching out, you could cut the string, and then boom, there goes the string. The next one is B. It's yellow. Like I said, you're going to loosen it. So I am going to hurry this up. One, because you guys probably don't want to watch a 20-minute video about stringing a guitar. Two, I had to turn off the AC. It's the beginning of July. I swear to you, it's 95 degrees outside with humidity of like 80%. It's stupidly hot. So, there goes the B string. Use this. Pop this up gently. Boom. There it goes. This guy's being a little weird. Yellow, which is the B string. Now, your standard gauge of strings for acoustic is 12 to 54, and that's just typically you tuning to E standard. You'll start noticing that people tune their guitars a little different around the world, around the US. They may go a step down, they may go a half step down, and it does make a difference. Say for instance, I'm a baritone in voice, so having my guitar a whole step down actually helps me because I can sing a little better, plus it makes my voice sing a little higher. Okay, 3 inches. You know what, for this guitar, and this is the first time I'm restringing this guitar, let's just try it out. I'm going to go from peg to peg, because that's about 2 inches, 2 inches and a half. Make a little notch. Boom. Now, I'm going to guide this once. And once it, locks in there, well, this is kind of hard because there's 2 strings in the way. But, nevertheless, we're going to guide it. Once it goes once around, you know that you've got it hooked. Bend that string up, away, so that way it's not flapping everywhere. Alright, here we go. Pressing the string down, holding it. And here comes the magic of the string winder. Actually, I'll tune this down. And if other tuning keys are in the way, just turn them flat, as you can see what I did, so that way I don't keep bumping into them. And they've actually made string winders that fit into electric screwdrivers, and I've seen those, and those are, a lot of roadies actually use that in stage crews, because if you need a guitar restrung on the fly, see, what I did bad, what I did very bad right there was let that string be guided above the line. You want to keep it as uniform as you can. See, now it crosses over. It's no biggie if it does. Like I said, it's all gonna work itself out. It looks neater, and as you can tell, you get the feel for every guitar. It's kind of hard tuning this while I'm facing away. Alright, it's getting close. I can feel it. I can feel the slack on both ends, both the tuning key and the bridge pin. Let this baby go. You hear that? What's happening is that when I put that string underneath the bridge pin, it's just pulling up. I'm looking at my tuner, G, you want to tune it pretty much in the ballpark. That's a little flat. That's fine. We can tune that back up. Alright. Here goes the G string. I'm going to snip this. There you go. You're going to have wires everywhere, believe me. Be sure you pick them up because you can step on them. And they hurt. Alright. So, you typically want to change your guitar strings. It depends on how much you play them. If you're just, playing for hobby, I'd say every 3 months, beginning of the season, eventually you're gonna know when to change your guitar string because everybody plays different. I can tell you right now that when I play for prolonged periods of time, my fingers sweat, and a lot of people have that. And so what it does to the higher end of the strings, the G, B, and E, just the steel ones, not the nickel wound, they rust. And let's see what our next one is. Green. So they rust, and just making sure I haven't done anything wrong. I've never had these Fender strings before. So, okay. And when they rust, one, it's going to feel grody on your fingers. It's going to feel like caked, stuff. And you can clean them. There's this stuff called Fast Fret, which is amazing. I think it's like $7. And basically what it is, it's almost like, I can't even describe what it's like. It's just this very light oil in a brush, and you just basically brush it over your strings, take a napkin, and you just wipe off the strings. And it's going to sound like a violin, like it's going to be a high-pitched screeching. And it's going to sound horrible. What it's doing is actually rubbing off all that dirt. Alright, I'm going to imagine 3 inches, bend, all that. So, there's that Fast Fret, which I used for years, which is awesome. I think what happened is that I eventually just didn't have the money one time, or something happened. I looked up online and found out that that Wesson vegetable oil works just as fine, or works just as good. And I tried it, and as long as you don't overpower, as long as you don't just pour it on the neck and start wiping down, it doesn't really affect the playing. You're going to notice a little bit of oily fingers. If you do it lightly, just dab it, on the napkin, and use it. It pretty much you're gonna tell a difference on the 3 high strings. So, and that works just as well. Now, back when I was a traveling band, I used to change my strings once a month. 2 reasons. 1, I just love new strings. It's one of the best feelings in the world. And 2, it's just good maintenance because you don't want older strings break. You don't want to break a string while you're on stage. Let's tune this up. Alright, once again, what had happened right there is that ball underneath that bridge pin was a little low. And even though you pushed it in there, yeah, it's in there. C, D, E, F, F sharp, G. Alright, take the wire snippers. Boom. Now, I can go really fast on this stuff, but I'm trying to show you guys in real time how long it should take for beginners. And if you can't move as fast as me, that's cool. I'm just trying to beat the clock because I don't want to waste a lot of time. Now, what you guys will notice is that once you get to the thicker strings, it's gonna take less times to wrap around, which that's actually good. It's pretty much the higher strings that you're gonna sit there and just pretty much wrap it around 20 times because it's gonna take forever. I have seen guitars that just go once around. They'll just go about 3 or 4. They'll basically pull it all the way up, and you'll see it on the tuning keys maybe like once, twice around. The problem with that is that typically it's a lot of tension. There's not that much, support up there. If it's just barely holding on, and oh, this one's actually a problem. Tell you what, I'm gonna do a no-no. I'm gonna pull this just barely with my pliers. But these things are cheap. Like I said, if you damage them $1, as long as you don't scratch the body or the bridge or all that stuff, you'll be good. What was I talking about? Oh yeah, if it goes once around, that's fine. If you're in standard tuning, that should be okay. But say for instance you're wanting to try an open tuning, whereas for some of the open tunings like C, G, CE, you're gonna have to go down 2 whole steps in that lowest string. And if it's wrapped around once, I mean, who's to say? I don't even think it can actually go down 2 steps because, there's not that much slack. But if it's wrapped around 4 or 5 times, even 6 times, what's that gonna do? Is that actually gonna give you some leeway in tuning possibilities, especially if you want to tune a step down or whatnot, all that good stuff. Let's find that. Aha! Now you're in my world, which is on my side, so I can actually sit here. Let's speed this up a little bit. And just don't be intimidated by restringing your guitar. For you beginners, just do as much as you can with your guitar. Tune it. Don't mess around with the annotation because most of the times factory presets, they pretty close. If you feel like your guitar is kind of weird, or just best thing you can do is just pay 20 bucks and let it go to professional and let them set it up. A standard guitar setup is about 20-25 bucks. Once again, that's slack. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just you can't really possibly see when you put that ball underneath that bridge pin. You can pull as much as you can. Typically, you want to just kind of throw it in there barely, and then let the bridge pin push it into the hole the rest of the way. G, A, B, C. C sharp, D. As you can see, you heard it right there. I was trying to tune down because they're slack. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys, both professional and unprofessional, you should never, ever, ever change your strings the day before or the day of a show. That's like getting a haircut the day before or the day of picture day. Like, it's going to look stupid. Same thing with tuning guitar. If you change it the day before or the day after, or the day before or the day of a show, man, these bigger ones are not playing nice. And like I said, just give it a little tug most of the time. There you go. The thicker ones are going to be pretty more snug just because there's more, string pushing against that bridge pin. But you're going to find out very quickly that changing your strings is there's a good week of just slack. When I say slack, is that what's happening is that your strings are stretching. They're new strings. It's the first time they've been taken out of the box. It's not like they've been tuned and then put into the box. So I mean, these are brand new strings. They're being stretched for the first time into standard tuning, which is pretty high tension. And you're gonna see that you're gonna have to tune. Like if you pick up your guitar every day for a week, pretty much when you pick up the guitar, unless you have like killer locking tuning, or nut locks or any kind of advanced, once you get it in there nothing's going to change it. it's going to go out of tune. It's going to be slightly out of tune, which is fine, because that's slack. So don't think it's your tuning keys or anything like that, because it's just natural. I would change my strings a week before the show, and then I would practice pretty heavily. Plus we have rehearsal and all that. And what that does, this one's not playing nice. Pull that up. Also, a week is a great amount of time, especially if you pick up the guitar every day, to actually pull all that slack. You're going to start noticing a week or 2 weeks after you put the new strings on that it's going to start staying in tuning a lot better. And once, it's almost like a good baseball mitten, where after 3-4 weeks, by the end of its cycle, basically, after it stops, being bright. And if you guys don't have to change your strings every month like I do, which I don't do anymore, I change them probably every 3 months. You don't have to do that, but you're going to start to see after 3 or 4 weeks, especially of consistent playing, that I guarantee you this is going to pop out of tune from the bridge pin. G sharp. Huh, it didn't. You'll see a lot of guitar techs actually yank on the strings. You'll see them, they'll pull, and if you want to try to do that, then go ahead. But what I'm saying is that you can definitely break a string like that if you're pulling too hard. But after experience, you'll see you're just pulling that slack, and you do want to, because nobody wants to actually sit there and have to deal with that. And the sooner you can get that slack out of the tuning keys, the better. And they're pretty big. Alright, last string, low E. Boom. Wasn't that bad, was it? For professionals, I'll tell you a little tip. What I would do is not only change my strings a week before a show, but I would actually take a Sharpie, since, typically you want to have a Sharpie. Since you're a rock star and all, you have to sign shit. Take your Sharpie marker after you've tuned it in whatever tuning you want. Get in there. And put it under the 12th fret. Under the strings, all the way through the neck. Under the strings of the 12th fret. And just, every night or after practice, just constantly have that Sharpie in there. And I would do that every night before a show. And what that's doing, if you can fit it in a case like that, you should. What that does, sorry it's late, is it constantly, overnight, pulls on that string through the tuning key.